I know, right? I'm dancing during the whole thing.
Oh yeah,
That's so pretty. That was
great song. Yeah.
impressive.
Oh
Oh
yeah.
my God.
It's
Heck.
totally like given me like full we have to be NPR vibes. Like we're
Ugh.
serious. We have
Are
to
we
be
talking really
positive.
close? Hello,
Really close.
welcome
Hello.
to
Hello.
For Everyone Media.
Like we gotta be peppy. Like, hi family, welcome to For Everyone Media, where we're here
Don't
to entertain you with our fandom discussions.
we don't have to all be peppy.
Oh shit. Okay.
Oh, thank God.
I mean, you
I'm
can be
sorry.
the happy one if you want to be, Aaron.
That's true.
You're
You
the
can
hostess
be that.
today, though.
Damn it.
Damn
That is
it.
me. I'm in charge, apparently.
Save yourself.
Ah,
So, hi everyone. On that note, how's it going? Welcome to Panel Royale this time. I'm Jamie. I'm the host of, or the person in charge apparently this time. I came up with the name DM, Discussion Master. And I'm going to let everyone introduce themselves. I'm going to let my teacher come out a little bit, and we're going to go down the roll. So, first up,
That would be me. Hello, my name is Brianna, also known as Pepperana on Twitch. I do a variety of streaming games, but also I have very strong opinions on comic books. So I kind of come in as the not a professional comic book personer. I don't do as many as I think anyone else here. So I kind of come in with a, hi, I'd like to get into comics, and I'm struggling and I'm angry about it. So that's what I offer. Thank you.
hell yeah. The perspective we need. I guess it's me next if I remember my alphabet. Jamie, please don't give me any red letter grades. Last I checked, I'm Erin. I am also known as the Master of Mediocrity on Girls Talk Comics and the person who occasionally sometimes uses our social media to talk about media and comics and movies. And I've been reading comics for enough years where I guess I'm kind of an expert. Kinda. I bullshit like the best.
There you go.
That's what I'm
expert
here
bullshit.
for.
Definitely that.
Yeah.
Fake it till you make it.
Last but certainly not least.
Least. Oh.
Oh.
Womp womp.
Wow.
Hey, I'm Todd. I really like comics. I talk about them sometimes on Comic Burrito. It's another thing on For Everyone Media that you should maybe check out if you like comics. I also do graphics and video things and such like that, both in my IRL and online for my passion projects and my regular life projects. Yeah. I also made this.
Awesome.
I love that.
There's the intro. So
I'm so happy. Those are all so nice. Every time you have like a look at my magic, I'm sitting here like, he's a witch.
get me.
He's a fucking witch. No, don't. No one burn him. We need it. We need him.
Yeah, this is the magic that's allowed.
Please.
There are a shocking amount of pikes around. It's terrifying. Anyway.
That's a really interesting like home decor choice.
Yeah.
What's the spirit right here?
Throwing that out there.
The Pike section of IKEA is amazing.
The pike section.
It's
Lots of
definitely
options.
there's weird umlauts and accents above it though, and I still don't know how to pronounce it.
Don't try. She tried.
I tried. Maybe they're called an urmpel. I don't know.
Urmpel.
Are we just making stuff up now?
Yes.
Maybe
I
I'm.
love it.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop.
We can just make this a panel royale about IKEA naming standards.
Yeah,
have
I don't
not
know
done
what the
any
pattern
research.
is. Yeah.
Shift.
Yeah. Okay.
But no, we're not going to do that.
Not this time.
Again, our topic today is going to be newbies in comics. So, where do they get started? What are the challenges they face? Basically, how can we, make our tent bigger? How can we destroy the gates of fandom so that we can have more fans and more people appreciate the thing that we love,
More
which
friends.
is comics. So the first question, kind of a warm up. What book made you a newbie? What book hooked you in and was like, "Yep, comics are a thing I'm going to read now"? Open it up. Whoever wants to go first.
I will go first because my name starts with a B. Thank you. Um, so I've dabbled in comics as a child, like a little bit, because they were cheap, they were small. My parents didn't worry about them like they did with me in books. But no one else was a comic person in my family. So I'd buy like random one offs. I didn't know or didn't care that they were connected. So I never bought any in a series. I would always just grab one, be able to like appreciate the story in that contained in that one novel, a little book thing. And then I would never revisit it. So that was how I started. So I guess probably the first time I feel like I got into comic books was with Neil Gaiman's The Cost of Living, which depicts death as a young goth girl who has one free day every century to just walk around on Earth and just live as a mortal. And that was just such a human take on a immortal force that is death. And also, she was super cute and like bubbly and just like happy to exist on this planet and walk around. She interacted with like a suicidal teen. Interacted with like another fairly ancient force, and she was just it was just good. The comic itself was just a good comic that made me love the character, and I had never interacted with her before ever. So I was like, okay, looks like I'm a Sandman fan now. So I went out and bought all of them after that. And so that's definitely what got me into comics as more than just little one-off bit things that I had as a child.
That's a pretty great place to start, honestly. Might be better than my start. Because the first thing that I really sunk my teeth into was the Fruits Basket manga.
But it's awesome.
I know, it's so cute, it's so fluffy, it's so light, but I was like 12, 13, and I hadn't really read like a comic because manga is a little different than comics. And you know, we could talk gatekeeping in manga too, but whatever. When I went back to it though, I would actually like I've talked about my first books like Trillium I fell in love with. I've talked about how like Umbrella Academy was one of my first purchases, but I think what really made me love and appreciate the comics art was the Adventure Time comic books, because they like had this really funny running commentary under like at the bottom of the page under the panels and stuff, where they would make jokes about how they developed that comic, or like in jokes about the thing. I don't know, it was just like, you know, the Greek chorus just running through it, but it was all irreverent. And I didn't realize how much I appreciated it until I started getting into other stories and really kind of chasing genres, and like love that as a little device. And I think that was when I truly saw the grand scheme of what comics could be and do.
Awesome. And Todd.
I'm muted. So I've talked about this a little bit on Comic Burrito, but my first comic that I remember reading, I was 8 years old. I got into this. My father has many boxes of comic books up in like our attic area. He wasn't actively collecting at the time, but he had for many years beforehand. And I was like searching because I was given permission to look through them and find something I wanted to read. Very exciting. Super overwhelmed. 8 years old, looking at like 20, 30, 40 short boxes, don't even know how many. And I don't know where to go. But there was one box, this brown shoe box, that was aside from everything else. And I was like, I'll start there. Grabbed that, brought it back downstairs, found out later that was the collected version of Nightfall. It was all the single issues of Batman Nightfall, all on its own in its own box. Everything from Two-Face Riddler in the beginning to Azrael, like trying to clean up Gotham. Fucking intense book for an 8-year-old. Not an age-appropriate story whatsoever. But it informed me of so much of why, one, I love Batman. Batman can be one of the best characters, and comics are incredible. I was just hooked right after that. And then from there, I went into Ben Reilly Spider-Man, and that is what made me realize comics can be fun because
Nightfall wasn't fun.
not so much. I was mostly confused and didn't understand most of what was happening, but the art was really cool, and Batman seemed like a cool guy until
Definitely not a
he
book for
wasn't.
first timers.
Yeah, and then I really liked Azrael. I thought Azrael was cooler than Batman for a while until I realized Azrael's not. Yeah, it was because his costume was more like cool. It was like got all these things, and it was But then Ben Reilly was my first Spider-Man, and everyone notoriously hates the first thing that made me fall in love with Spider-Man, but I love it. So yeah, and it was all colorful and bright and cheery, and that's I think when I really became a newbie and got hooked was the bright colors of Spider-Man, which was one of the more depressing versions of Spider-Man. It's really informed a lot of what I love.
Yes. Yeah. If y'all want to understand, you can check out his bio on the For Everyone Media website where it
Yeah.
says he likes the bright, depressing things.
Yep.
I think. Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, that was me newbie in comics, and ever since then it's been the best.
Nice. For me, I had a few false starts. Like I remember in in elementary school, like we would have like the Scholastic Book Fair, and they'd occasionally have like Scholastic Book Fair versions of comics. So I remember reading like the X-Men version of those, but like that was it. Besides, watching the show and then the animated Batman the animated series, and then like it was when I was living in Korea in like 2012. I was like, let me check out comics again, and like got the Ultimate X-Men, like downloaded that. And I was like, because I like the X-Men, but I don't want to read like the entire back catalog to understand what's going on. So like, ooh, fresh new take. Let me try this. And like, it was like, okay, this is nice, but like I didn't continue any further. I was like, okay, cool, I read that, but like, meh. But it wasn't until like my PhD program where I just needed something else to read that I could enjoy besides fucking Hynek, besides like scientific articles. And
That's fair. That's super fair. Sorry, I realized that I was working on something and the chat's been going.
And so it's like, no, it's my ADHD where it's like, ooh, pretty thing up the bottom. And so like, I was like, well, let me try to read comics and let me go with Batman and Thor. Because those are two things I like. I like Norse mythology and I like, the Dark Knight movies. And then like, I liked year one. Long Halloween was okay, but it wasn't until I read like Scott Snyder's Court of Owls stuff that I was like, oh, okay. Comics are for me. Okay, this is a thing I'm going to do now. And then like Thor, I think J. Michael Straczynski's run, like issue 3, where Thor just beats the shit out of Iron Man and is like, I'm a god, and you're a man in an iron suit. Like, the fuck are we doing here? I was like, okay, cool. Comics are a thing. Awesome. There we go.
Awesome. I legit at first thought you like when you said Batman and Thor, my mind was like that was a crossover that happened. I'm not sure how that would play out.
So funny story, my wife was one time in a teacher training, super bored out of her mind, and she made me a Batman versus Thor like comic. And I'll have to show y'all sometime, but it's like right here on my wall. Hilarious stuff. And yes, you do, Bizarro Fat.
Yeah. I've never read Court of Owls, but I'm totally going to just third the opinion because I'm a follower.
Smart.
Oh yeah. So the next question, before we get into the challenges that newbies face in comics, because that always seems to be like the main topic, is like, newbies have a hard time getting in. And yes, that's absolutely true. But let's start somewhere more positive and go, what are comics' biggest selling point to you right now? Like if you had to sell comics to a newbie, what would you go with? I see Erin already has her hand raised.
We'll do staggered firsties. I'll go first next time, and we'll just do that.
Okay.
That's good. Yeah.
As like someone who tries to sell people on comics, I totally go art first. I'm like, you like TV shows? Look at this. Look at this. It's like an animated TV show you could read. But then I also try to target like parents of young children because I'm like, oh, is your child not reading? Please let me instill this hobby in them. for later in life. Here's a child book. But no, I think that the stories that are in comics are a little bit like exploratory. They really, I feel like, can boost Steve. um, I feel like they could really boost like people's empathy and ability to kind of understand emotions. I love the interpretive skills with it because you like have to follow the words, but then this art is supposed to do the showing part that's not part of the telling. So there's no more like the narrator thought or something like that. So I really just like to hit people with like how pretty they are, and then also like look at all the different skills you have to use. And
Love it.
newbies don't always like that. Like the customers don't always like it. They get really excited about my excitement. And then I'm like, oh my God, these comics made me cry. And then they're like, oh shit, I'll read that. I'm like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
We all just want to cry.
Yeah.
So crying is a selling point.
Crying is a selling point for comics.
Having a
Oh,
medium
yes.
make you feel something that you
Yeah.
usually have to suffer yourself, but now you don't. It's just going to like a novel experience, I
Yeah.
guess.
Pretty cool.
Because graphic novels.
Hey.
Bad pun number one.
That was my best pun.
I personally, I agree. Art is huge because it's eye candy. You don't get that with like trying to get somebody to be like, no, trust me, you'll like reading. If someone's not a reader, it's much harder to be like, trust me, these words are going to turn your life around. But it's like, you can't open the book and be like, look how cool this book is, because you go into the middle of a novel and it's just like, oh, okay, neat, cool words, bro. I really like that typography.
Damn, that kerning in that period.
Yeah.
Fucking
Next time someone recommends a novel to me, I'm just gonna go, cool words, bro.
Yes.
Pictures.
Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, I have to make the pictures with my mind. Fuck that shit. Somebody else
Wait,
did it.
I ain't got time for that.
One
I
of
have to
the
learn
other
adjectives? Fuck.
Yeah. Oh god. Ugh. One of the things I think is comics' biggest selling points is the barrier of entry and the democratization of the medium. It is not. It's so much harder to get a movie out there for people to actually get eyes on. You're not going to find niche movies as much anymore because it doesn't make money. And yes, they want to make money off of comics, but how much you need to make and how many people need to actually buy the comic is so much lower, because all you're having to do is offset artist, writer, publisher costs, and then you can print this book about some really strange and amazing content to the point where we have crowdfunding for it. You can do it for such a low price that people can pool together, say, I love this idea, let's birth it into reality. And then it happens. And it happens all of the time. So if you can think of something that you enjoy, there is going to be a comic for it. Whether or not you'll like said comic, it's just like anything else. It's up to what you respond to and all of that. But it's going to be there, and it happens all of the time. There's always something new, and these ideas are being iterated on over and over again, and it's amazing. And I love comics that anybody can get into it. You can grab a piece of paper and make a comic, and it's awesome. Yeah. That's so cool. And yeah, so I think that's its biggest selling point is it is for everyone, way more than so many other mediums.
Yeah.
I would like to drop a real quick shout out to a crowdfunding option right now of like an amazing concept, but Cthulhu Invades Wonderland.
Oh shit. Yeah. That's our boys. I'm in that book. Yeah. Kind of. I'm a proofer for that book.
Yeah, like that.
It's awesome.
Travis, longtime friend of Comic Burrito, is doing it, and the entire process or the entire concept is like, no one's gonna greenlight that. I mean, like, you might find it as a book, like in prose somewhere, but like kind of, the deep in the internet kind, which is totally whatever. But the fact that there is a team of people who are like, fuck yes, let's have Cthulhu invade Wonderland.
And it
Whatever.
has 70 plus creators involved, and it's like it's
That's
this
amazing.
enormous project that is then being funded by the community, which it's already been funded. So now they're just going for some dope ass stretch goals. What? And I've gotten to read a handful of the stories, and it's great, and they're so different because so many people are involved, and I love that. That's like what it's the comic community distilled into a book. It's great.
I love
And
it.
the low barrier entry too, it's like I think of it too because I've had someone recently be like, "Well, I can't get into comic books, but I like webcomic." It's like, well, then you're reading a comic. Like it's okay. Like that's a thing. So
Yeah, webcomics are also comics.
yeah.
And they're free.
Yes, they
and
are.
on the internet.
Mhm.
Read them on your phone, then no one knows. Then you can keep it a secret.
There you go. There you go.
Which one? Cthulhu Invades Wonderland? We'll drop a link.
Yeah.
You can also go to comicburrito.com and check out the last 2 comic burritos have had the creators on there.
All right, Bree, I think it's your turn.
Hey Bree,
Jamie-
what's your big selling point?
Jamie,
for
were you done though?
No, that was just one thing to build off. Todd.
okay.
Yeah, sure go.
Then,
She'll go
so I
after you,
actually,
probably.
I do have a couple of selling points. So I took your right now to mean now versus previously. So I found there's to be a couple of things I think that make comics much better and easier for new people to access them right now versus 10 years ago or 5 years ago. One of those selling points being inclusivity. There are so many more types of comics out that cover the whole, like a whole gamut of different types of people. Whereas 10 years ago, it was just a lot like a sea of white dudes and some ladies and their boobs, and that's about it.
Yeah. It was
but
their boobs, not the
It was
ladies.
their
mostly
boobs.
boobs.
Their
Yeah.
All
They
boobs.
were, they were like this. It was this.
It was that, yeah, that
There's
zoom
no-
in, which
there's no
I'll be
head.
honest, I love
This
boobs.
is the panel.
But still, and now I can't literally name all or any of them because that would take forever, but the inclusion is just so much improved that I appreciate it. That's also obviously come from just making it easier to get into the market itself and not just having only the big names, but also people being upset that they can only see white straight men and being unhappy about that. And so then the larger companies responding and doing stuff that is more inclusive, even if it's not exactly what we want. It's still a good step. So I felt like inclusivity was a big one, and the other one is online collections. You can gain access to millions of comic books right now for a small fee, where you log in and
free.
or free, depending on what you're on. But I know that's how I started going through all the New Mutants. Instead of purchasing all of their stuff, I accessed it, and I've just read through like a whole bunch of them on my iPad. And it's so much easier to do that now. You don't have to worry about storing them a bunch of places. I'm a big fan of portable media that's not 1,000 pounds of boxes because that builds up so fast. And that's my Magic the Gathering collection. So I can't have 2 things that do that. Okay, only one. Hoopla and Libby. Ooh,
Hoopla and
Yeah.
Libby. They're
nice.
Support your local library.
And DCUI and MU
Yeah.
are fantastic. They're-
Marvel Unlimited, DCUI, Hoopla, all of it. Yeah.
All that. Yeah, I think I have DC Unlimited.
Going
then
to your
comics-
library and just getting.
Comixology Unlimited is also pretty decent.
We're talking about this is. I won't get into what's in here because it's a whole thing. This is my stack from the library. That's mostly graphic novels. There's one. This novel on the side is about comic books and the history in
It's a
America.
book about books. I love
But
it.
this is what I got at the library because it was just sitting there and no one was reading it, so I checked it out.
Yeah,
Hell
free
yeah.
resources like that. It's
Hell yeah.
It's amazing.
availability.
And then it
so
doesn't
much there. Meta.
it doesn't do the whole portable thing as much, but you just
You can return it. You don't have the
and
stacks.
it's not in your
There's
house.
no financial
Yeah.
like investment in there. It's just
Yep.
And that's
Eat
a
it
because you're
up.
already paying for it.
and that's
They
a
already
huge
took that
thing.
money from you.
Exactly.
That's true.
That is your money that was
Yeah,
spent to
that
get
is
it.
your
Yes.
money.
So that's
how
that's what
taxes
I
work.
that's what I
And
brought
then-
into that.
And then you can read Fun Home, which is also very inclusive.
Yeah. Alison Bechdel, the creator of the Bechdel test for media.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who also is really into psychoanalysis, but I'm totally not going to comment on Freudian psychotherapy.
That's a whole other thing.
Yeah, that's next month's Panel
Next.
Royale.
As
What a-
Erin starts just
We've lost.
He was gone.
she's there.
I'm back. I'm back.
All right, Jamie, what about you?
Yeah.
I mean, pretty much everything y'all said. The fact that like it's the barrier to entry for creation is so low now that we have so many stories. And what's great about it is that there's so many that are pushing big publishers, like the big two, big three, if you want to throw an image, to be like, okay, well, we're not going to be great about it because they're still very not. Black Widow just got canceled, and I'm not okay with it. But they're trying, and it pushes them to try to have more inclusivity. And so you've got that lower barrier to inclusion for creation. So now you've got more things for people to read where, like, you know, if you're a woman and you don't want to read about men superheroes, there's plenty of options, not just from the big two. If you don't want to read any superheroes and you want to read horror, there's plenty of horror out there, sci-fi, like everyone. So yeah, I think the fact that there's just such a wealth of things you can find from all these different places. Sometimes it's really easy to find them, and if you come to the point where, like, you know, nothing's really doing it for me, F it, I'll create my own, I'll crowdfund it, I'll put it somewhere, and yeah, let's go. So yeah, pretty much what everyone mentioned. And yes, I'm still not over Wonder Girl either, but we will survive.
The best art in the DC universe died when they
Yeah,
killed that book.
yeah. But hey, we're getting a Pride
Oh,
book, so
no.
Yay!
yeah.
Woo.
And to be fair, since the beginning of March and all the way through April, like every week there's a new Wonder Woman book, and I can
Yeah.
live with that. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's like it. Is this what it feels like to be a Batman fan for 2 months?
No, because
And then we go back to
they
it.
had that, but then also still because we just had 12 weeks of Batman, a Batman book, but then there were still 12 other Batman books still running.
I
Oops, all
really think
Batman.
we should get the gold sticker You Tried to sponsor us one episode.
that's a good
Let's really
idea.
kind of channel them because, like,
I gotta write it down.
yeah, because I really like how you're like, oh, well, they're trying. But, like,
Yeah.
are they?
Are they though?
Are they?
That's a real bad try.
It's like they're trying, but they're trying more than before. It's like, you know,
But before they weren't at all.
yeah, that's like
I mean,
two
it's-
sides of the same coin.
I'm so excited. I'm
Yeah.
trade waiting it, and I'm so excited to read Trial of Amazons.
Every week,
Oh my goodness,
reading it, loving it.
I can't.
How
wait.
many characters are under trial right now?
Look it up.
Like,
We-
wasn't Magneto just under trial?
Yeah. Oh, you meant in terms of the books? Yes,
Yes.
The Trial of
Are you
Magneto.
counting
I was like, I
letters?
read
Oh, yeah.
Trial of Amazons. I don't know how many Amazons are being trialed.
No, I mean,
Is it
like,
a trial book?
We can't spoil it for Todd. He's trade waiting.
Spoilers, God.
I was
Trade waiting.
misinformed what this book was about.
not in the Amazons. It's just how many.
Yes, the Trial of
How many-
Magneto, Trial of Amazons.
Was it Wanda put under trial? Cancel
Maybe.
culture doesn't exist. They have been tried. They've been found wanting. They're still allowed to go.
You've been
Redemption
tried
arcs.
and found
Redemption
wanting.
arcs. Anyway,
I'll cancel.
That's
culture
another
in general.
selling point in comics.
Everyone gets a trial and a redemption.
Yeah, everybody gets a
Yeah.
redemption arc in comics.
it's true.
No one's dead. They just got a redemption.
What is
Yep.
dead may never die.
Except that show can.
Except that what last season? There's no.
Yeah.
It's
What
not
last,
that
season?
one.
What last season?
There's only 4
What last
seasons.
2 seasons? Yeah.
Yeah.
Shh, only drinks now.
All
I
right.
still can't believe they left Jon Snow dying as a cliffhanger.
I know.
It's
That's how the
wild.
show ends, right?
It's
Like,
crazy.
Yeah. Insane. Anyway, so on from the good to now, what are some of the challenges that newbies face? So, what are some challenges that newbies have getting into this?
I'm gonna secede my first. I didn't realize when I was like, we're gonna stagger the firsties. I'm just gonna. There you go, Bree. Go for it.
I am so angry all the time when I
Bye.
think about when I think about comics, because they keep doing this, as just mentioned with the canceling of Black Widow and the canceling of Wonder Girl. The reason I got back into comics was a pretty cool kick butt little comic called The A Force that brought a bunch of female characters together in the best fucking way possible. And then Civil War II happened, and then they said, "Fuck your dreams," and then they canceled it at like issue 7 or something, and or 10, and I am so mad. It was such a good series. The Civil War ruined it because they had to write people into these weird corners to make them have a reason for being in Civil War. And then it was just gone. And thus my love of comics, like to the point of where I think for our last question, I might have an answer that you guys aren't going to like. So
I'm excited about
oh,
it.
it's a spicy take.
It's a
I
spicy
can't wait.
take.
I got
Comics will
something for
break
it.
your heart, but not in a way like where you're emotionally okay with it. Like having your heart broken and being okay with it is different when it's this character ended and I'm sad, but there was a whole arc and a story versus this doesn't exist anymore. You get no resolution. Fuck yourself. Like that's what it feels like comics do. If you're
Or
not
like a cock tease.
Batman,
Fucking Batman.
Batman, or Superman, or any of the like the big ones. Like we'll keep you around because they're never going to die. We'll always have a shitty story for them to come back, and it's I fear. So there's that aspect. There's also the aspect of where the hell do I start? Is it on this number one? Is it on this number one? Or is it on this number one? They're all going to be different. They're all going to be for the same character, and you're not going to have any idea. So you need like a guide, like a physical person to feel out where you are and what you want to tell you where to go. And if you don't have one of those, what are you going to go on Reddit? No, those people are assholes.
Come to us.
I'm an
Hey,
asshole.
I was like, you're talking about me, and it's true.
There are just so many things that are going on, and you're lost trying to get into it, and that is rough. And if you get in, your series might be dead 2 issues later.
Man, bleak. I love it.
Bitter. There are always things that are not like that.
Yeah.
Like if you go in for the bigger comics, then that's a problem. If you go for the smaller groups, it's not going to be as much of a problem. If you go in for like that Kickstarter, not going to be an issue. There's plenty of places you can go where you aren't going to have that, but people don't have access to all of those because they don't know. And that's the problem, isn't it? You're a noob. You don't know.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's true.
100%.
So I'll someone else can talk now, but that's me.
I think one of the biggest I think you covered a huge challenge for it. I know from experience because the guide you're speaking of, I've been reading comics since I was 8, and I have been that guide so many times. So many times I have gotten people who weren't thinking that comics could be for them, whether it be like something indie or something big too. It's always there's always something for somebody, but you have to find that like right thing. And I think that's the one of the biggest challenges is there is so much. The same reason why my selling point is the same reason why it's also a huge challenge is there is so much out there. It is an ocean. It is like it's trying to drink from a fire hydrant, that whole thing, trying to drink from a fire hose. You go on, and yes, thank you, because this was like perfect. I was like, this is what I'm talking about. I want to go read Moon Knight. What should I start with? Top 287 series that contain Moon Knight. Good luck. And that is the issue right there, is there's so much. Like if you want to get into Cthulhu comics, you can find Cthulhu Invades Wonderland. If you want to get into X-Men, I'm just gonna get lost.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Where do you start?
And it's really hard to figure out where things are and what's the right way to go. If I start this, am I going to be severely disappointed because it's not an evergreen comic and I'm only going to get 6 issues and then like, oh no, it's a cliffhanger and I'm just done with this hobby altogether. So do you recommend the thing that you think that they'll love but might get like heartbroken about? Or do you go, what's really cool? Justice League. You got to hope that they put the right writer on it, but it's probably a good time. And it's really tough. It's tough to know, even for a guide, what to go, let alone someone who's out trying to do it on their own, because Reddit will tell you, here's the top 100 comics. 90% of them are probably terrible for first. I would never give Watchmen to a brand new comic reader. You know how often that's on top comic book lists?
Yeah, that's not.
Yeah.
No,
A lot.
terrible jumping off point.
That's only a start because of the movie. Like, that's only a newbie recommendation because somebody watched the movie and they're like, I'm gonna get into comics because I've seen this. Or it's the same for V for Vendetta when people want that. But it's like, when it comes to quality comic reading, there might be other stories that you could start with that might be easier to learn how to engage with comics and like understand them.
Like the top 10 best comics for a character are not the top 10 best places to start.
No.
True.
For comics or a character. Like, there are
Yeah.
the top 10 best Thor comics, but they're not always going to be the same thing I would recommend if someone said to me, hey, where do I start with Thor?
Yep.
Like, I would like, and so many people conflate that, especially the apparently the dog we're going to beat up the most here, Reddit, where it's like Reddit, like you tell Reddit, like you go into Reddit, go, hey, where should I start? They're like, oh man, this one's the best. It's like, yeah, but you have to have read the past 5 years before you get anything out of this one.
Yeah,
And
I
the
think
problem with
Batman
Reddit
Nightfall's
is-
the best. Terrible idea.
Yeah.
Don't start there.
And the worst thing you're going to get with stuff like that too is you're going to have like someone will give you like start here, and then like 2 comments later someone will go, oh, that's stupid, don't start there, start somewhere else. It's like, well, now I'm fucking really confused.
So the person needs to know you.
Yeah.
So this guy, this ephemeral being, this unknown actor in your life that you've never met before, needs to know you enough to know if you're going to be the person that can stick through some meh to get to the really good stuff. Like, you have to go to all that backstory, and then that clip, that avalanche of fun is what's going to get you through everything at the end. Or do I need some delicious comic book popcorn? Nobody knows you unless they do. And if they do, then you've probably already gotten the whole spiel about comic books in the past anyway. Because they won't shut up about it, Todd.
Checks out.
Fair.
Yep.
Right.
Nope.
You're right.
Yep.
When you're right, you're right.
I know.
Yeah.
So that kind of actually has been leading some of my thoughts about the biggest boundaries or barriers to getting in. Challenges. That's the word we're using. Challenges.
Challenge.
Synonyms.
Synonyms. So working in a comic shop, we have often discussed how does one create a store in which people see things and buy things, because it's all about visual engagement. All right. New comic readers don't give a fuck about publishers, but old comic readers do. In fact, if you're in the hobby, you think about it in very Marvel versus DC versus Image, Dark Horse, Vertigo, whatever the fuck. And so comic shops cater to the older readers, but a new person walks in and they're like, what do I want? And you, the employee, then have to hand pick titles that fall into a genre that they potentially list, because half the time they're like, I don't fucking know, and I'm like, go ham, and then they're like, too many options, I don't understand, because even within DC and Marvel there's sci-fi, capes, horror, romance, like all these action, thrill, all this stuff, and it's like, how do I talk to you about the difference between Constantine and Green Lantern? Or how do you even see the difference between Basket Full of Heads and
Oh my.
like Teen Titans? It's very, you have to look into it. The cover of the work speaks its message. Maybe you read the back material, or maybe you're so visually overstimulated that you're like, no back material. It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So one of the biggest barriers is simply buying it and being able to engage in it, because it is either listed all straight title, so not even by author, because you don't want Action Comics or Superman or Power Rangers or Transformers or Godzilla books all in different places when you can have it all under G for Godzilla or P for Power Rangers, right?
Mhm.
But if you don't know what you're already looking for, you
You don't know
like
if you
if you
don't know.
yeah, like if you're just coming in, you're like, I just want something. I want cotton candy for my brain. Well, I'm sorry, we don't have a cotton candy for your brain section, but I do have just this one that's overflowing with 13 different indie publishers. Have fun and good luck. If there's a
Yeah.
child on it holding a drug vial called Small World, don't buy it. But
Just
like,
don't.
just don't. But it's just, it's very like,
Mhm.
how the fuck do you start? And yes, there are employees there that do it, but employees, like engaging with employees comes with its own,
Mhm.
oh, do I want to bug
Nervousness.
them? And then also, are they even worth your time? Like, are they good employees who are going to be good with you? But it's just like,
Are they busy and now you're sweaty in a comic shop and you want to get a
Yeah.
comic, but you're embarrassed because you don't know anything and you're sweaty. And
Yeah.
why are you so
Yeah.
sweaty? And you're going to leave.
Or
Is
you
there no
or you at a
bathroom here?
comic
Where's the
shop that's-
bathroom here?
or there's no bathroom. Like,
Why is there no bathroom here? I'm nervous in a bookstore. I need a bathroom.
or you're at a comic shop that's a comic shop / game shop,
Yep.
and all the
busy.
employees know the game stuff.
Oh, I know like
They're hosting a Pokemon
Magic the
tournament.
Catan expansion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they could give you great things to do with Magic the Gathering, but they don't know shit about comics.
Or they're
Mhm.
rude.
Or they're
really
rude.
like
Or they're rude.
you really
run
like
into that.
Marvel. How about this Marvel board game? I mean,
Yeah, it's pretty
like,
cool.
Yeah.
Magic the
It's fight
Gathering has a book.
Thanos.
So
Or
a
they've
lot of
been
people,
so in the comics for so long that it's that
figure out.
expert blindness.
This
of
is
like-
the
Yeah.
best
They don't know.
stylistically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is what you need to start with.
I,
Or
Oh
else
my
nothing else
God.
works.
I've
Or-
never thought. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna comment about how they could be employees who are like, well, I don't really know about the idea of making legacy characters.
I will leave.
I love
Right
it.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
god, yeah. I'm
There's
glad
a
that's
lot,
not
and it's
something I deal
individual
with.
to each shop and each person. Not every
Mhm.
person is good at
Yeah.
being a teacher or good at helping
Yeah.
other people find it.
Yeah.
They're there, they're working, and sometimes they're good at helping other people find what they need, and sometimes they could give you exactly what you've asked for and nothing more, and that's good enough, but it's not good enough. And so it's how do we
It
help?
depends on the
And
customer
sometimes
because
they just had a bad day.
Yeah, and they're allowed to
it's
because the
retail.
fucking
Yup.
sucks.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
They aren't. The
it's hard to
job
be upset with
doesn't
them.
say you have to be like perfect for every situation. The guy with the encyclopedic knowledge about everything from Golden Age to Silver Age is going to help somebody
Mhm.
at some time.
Yeah.
But the person who is really great with newbies might not be there that day, and it's just tough because like there's
Yeah.
all these different ways because comics is like
Huge.
huge. It's the ocean. So like
Yeah.
the employees won't be perfect for everybody. So it's tough. You
Yeah.
won't even for sure find a guide at the place where you want it to be packed with guides.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
Yes, Bree.
stuff might not even be in print.
My hands up,
Okay.
Aaron.
I-
Sorry, I'm sorry. That's it.
I only
we
do
don't-
this.
Should we get a stick that we should?
We
pass?
should. There's software I think that or something that lets you put like your hands up.
Oh, are we
whatever.
going to do like the Zoom hand up thing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
or I just raised my hand like a human. Hello.
But I need technology.
So and I probably should keep this for the end, but I don't care. I'll forget it because of the way that I am. Why don't we as For Everyone Media start doing recommendations every other day? Hey, if you like this, this, and this, you'd like that. And not have it be comics because they don't know comics. But what if you like shitty werewolf vampire popcorn novels where the girl's a witch that's got extra power? This is the kind
Ooh,
of comic book that
into
you
it.
like. I read those because they're easy to read.
I'll read that.
Nom, 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 nom. And that's maybe when you brought up the popcorn media, I was like, well, that would be great. If
Maybe
you like Percy
we'll-
Jackson.
Yeah,
try
maybe we'll
these
talk
comics.
about making a web
Yeah.
page that has
Something
like,
like that
do you
sounds
like,
like-
this? Here's
And we could
some
put it out
links.
on Twitter and just put each of the recommendations. I think would be smart. That's a
That's
that's
it.
So that's the
Figure it out
thing
if
that
that's the thing, but I do love that idea.
I do
that's the
like that
thing
too.
with the challenges too is like there are comic books that are at that level where they're classics, they're going to be remembered forever. As long as comics are around. And then there's some that are just fun comics. And those are not going to get recommended a lot of times because they're not these like memorable things that someone that's been reading comics for 20 years is going to remember because it's just volume 5 of a 10-volume run that was really good and a lot of fun, but maybe not the memorable one, you know?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
I just read this.
Yeah.
So kind of, Bree, you got me thinking. You know
Hmm.
how there like
Oh boy.
there's those meme
Uh-oh.
Twitter accounts where it's like
Uh-oh.
the people you just made up to be mad at or whatever. We could be
That
like,
bitch over there eating crackers.
yeah, fans that you just made up, and it's a
Yeah.
dude who comes
Yeah.
in, stock photo of a smiling guy, and he's like, "I like the movie Shrek." And it's just like,
Oh, Shrek Rex. Let's
Yes!
go.
I like
No.
D&D. Rat Queens. Anybody? Hello?
Hey, die. Let's go.
Die.
Yeah.
all the
Sorry, I need a
new
minute.
D&D.
So many
The
options.
last session, Mad Cave. Oh man, I'm ready to roll with D&D.
Hell yeah! I mean, that one's a little obvious, okay? But Shrek
But
Rex,
wow.
give
But
me
Shrek
Shrek
Rex,
Rex.
Give me, we need
People can
Shrek.
submit.
Stray Dogs.
That's a bit of a genre shift, but
We had
yes.
someone come in and say, I really like the show
Talking
Walking
animals.
Dead. Can you give me an idea of a comic that I would like?
What if I told you that's happened before? That's happened before.
I love it.
So there's
that's
this
perfect.
series.
Have
We're
you
getting
tried
comic books out of this Moo show?
The Walking Dead? It's
You show them
grittier.
you show them the 28 Days Later comic thing. You'll probably really like this, and then there's just a wall of Walking Dead behind you.
Why is there
You're a
grave
Walking
dirt on
Dead
the floor?
fan? Have you heard of The Strain? And just like,
Yes.
Oh, that's good stuff.
Amazing.
So to go to Aaron's point about the organization, that got me thinking, like, because I was thinking, like, what if you went into a Barnes and Noble and it was organized by publisher?
it's fucking
Yeah.
nightmare.
That'd be a
Yeah.
nightmare.
Fucking nightmare. And yet, like, we treat normal prose books like, okay, the sci-fi's over here, your fiction's over here, what to get your dad for his birthday is over here in the World War II section. Like, they're divided up. But like comics, it's like, nope, boom, Image, DC, Marvel, Vertigo.
Yeah.
But what
Like,
if
good luck.
Stephen King didn't write all the Dark Towers? Would you split up the Dark Tower series?
If they're
That's
by
the
different
thing.
publishers, if we're going by Marvel,
But
but if we're going by
I mean, my shop goes by title name, which means you're not getting authors, you're getting Action Comics, then it goes into Batman, and it doesn't matter who's writing Batman. Where, like, that's what I was going to bring up too, because I think it's super interesting.
Organization.
The Dewey Decimal System has no place in a comic book shop.
No,
Dewey Decimal has no power there.
Totally. And like my shop is divided by publishers and then alphabetically within. So all of your Dark
Okay.
Tower books would stay in one place as long as they were done by the same publisher. If not, we would
Interesting.
probably put them in another place separately to allow for people who are looking specifically for the Dark Tower, which makes it worse because it's like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh
Because
no, because now it's not even where
Vertigo,
it should be
yeah.
with other. Oh no.
like the Star Wars books being published by Dark Horse at one point and Marvel, and sure,
Marvel, and now both.
yeah. So in Conan's
Yep.
another example.
Yeah.
So like we have those divided by publisher, but like if you're looking for old Conan, where do you go? Where do you go? So
Yeah.
it's like
That's interesting. My shop goes by title name. They don't care about publisher. They go by title name, which I think solves a lot of those issues because it doesn't matter. It's like, like I'm looking for Star Wars. All the Dark Horse and Marvel stuff will all be there because it'll be in S because it's Star Wars.
Yeah.
You still won't be like, I've heard this Scott Snyder guy's really good. And you have to now bounce around through the whole store looking at every single thing or talk to somebody who can help. But there is no easy way to get in unless you have the title of the book. There's no easy way to get in with the creator, which the creator will be more indicative of your enjoyment than the title will be.
Yes. I mean, a lot of us do follow creators, or at least I might be transitioning into the next question. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it seems like it.
Natural break.
I don't know. Okay. Yeah. So moving on to the next one, or do we want to do the commercial break?
I don't know.
Speaking of, we do have a sponsor tonight. Yeah.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Oh, we do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like sponsors.
It's the best sponsor.
Like friendship.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so I was ready.
Were you gonna? Oh,
I was ready for the host to throw
I was-
to it. So
I had said we had a sponsor. I was waiting on
that's
the.
true. So
Yeah.
our sponsor, with all those gatekeepers out there, and you are just run down. You're looking at the shop, and you're just like, why do you only care about 1980s Batman? I really need you to care about other things. And you just need a fuck to give. Well, our sponsor has you just the right product for you. Don't have any fucks to give? Grab one from the Fuck It Bucket. This episode is brought to you by the Fuck It Bucket.
Well,
Bucket.
Bucket. Great sponsor. Best buckets
Yes.
out there.
that's
great.
pretty good. That's a bucket. That
I like it.
wasn't written on there.
It's
I
the
have
Fuck
the
It Bucket.
tiny. I have the little. Well, I'll put a sticker over this, I guess, at some point. But this is going to be my new fuck cup.
Awesome. The Fuck Cup.
Yeah.
The Fuck Up.
It's
fuck up,
FUCC.
The Fuck Up. I love
Yeah.
Fuck
it.
cup.
Love it.
Yeah.
Oops, all fuck ups.
All right. So moving on from the challenges. So now
We also have Twitter stuff too. That
we also
don't
Twitch.
want
Do we want to do the Twitter stuff now? I mean,
we
we
don't wanna
can.
forget.
I think
Yeah.
most of that was advice for newbies. So we want to wait and get that when we.
Oh yeah, that's great. Yeah, let's go into the question, and then that Twitter is
Exactly.
perfect for it.
So we've talked about the challenges. Guess what? There are a lot.
Oh my.
So now let's talk about what's the advice we can give to newbies. So how can we help newbies figure this all out? And
You know what?
Aaron's turn.
I like
Aaron's
Todd's
turn.
method of just walking away. Sometimes you
gone.
just
There you
fucking
go.
walk
There you go.
away. Yeah, I feel like I had a point, and then we transitioned to the fuck it bucket, and now I've forgotten ways to help newbies.
I'm gonna go last. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, how have I helped? I'm just gonna pull from memory on how I've helped newbies. I really ask about genre preferences. When people bring it up, it's really hard when they're like, where do I start? I'm like, I don't know. Do you want to cry? Do you want to laugh? Do you want to fucking masturbate? I don't know. Like, what do you want out of the reading experience? And at that point, I just kind of pull from whatever pool of knowledge that I have. But for noobs who are going into it without a guide, I base it off of cover. In a lot of cases, I look specifically for characters that look like me. And I look for character designs that I'm either familiar with in that they match animation styles or other styles of media that I already like, or have women who look like they actually have internal organs. They're not held together by Spanx and Hope. When I started, I went for like stuff with the same titles of things that I already know. Like I said, the Adventure Time comics. And I kind of went for stuff that was geared maybe towards younger audiences. It was nicer stuff, like friendlier storytelling, and I needed that in my life. Starting with manga was actually really helpful because manga actually has directions on how to read them. They're like, start here and then move across and down. And so that was easy to translate over to comics. But starting with things that I was already familiar with, or things that already had a style that I preferred, just kind of gave me all the flags for like easy stuff to engage with, you know, like it just, that's my advice for news. And then as I just got into it more, I just made a lot of mistakes. And when I made mistakes, I liked to very friendly blame the staff of the comic shop. No, I'm kidding. When I made mistakes, I was like, oh shit, I'm not going to keep reading this. And then would go to the staff and be like, this fucking sucks. Help me out. Help the bitch out. And they'd be like, oh yeah, the boys might not be for everybody, but
definitely not.
How about Black Hammer? You're like, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Welcome back, Todd.
Oh, hi.
I
Yeah.
missed you.
Right?
Thanks. Is it my turn to give advice?
Would you like to give some advice for noobs?
Assuming, I don't want to reiterate what either of you say, and if I do it, it's totally because I just am trying to reinforce the point. Yeah,
Yeah.
and not because I was gone.
Uh,
I open-mindedness, deciding that it might be rough in the beginning because it's a new medium.
Mhm.
It's okay to not understand. It's okay to be confused. It's okay to not like something, but like just keeping an open mind about it's not for kids, it's not for teens, it's not for adults, it's for literally everyone.
Mhm.
And if it seems like it could be interesting to you, it will be. Like if it is at all something that you think you would like, there's no way that there isn't something out there that you will like. Like that's the best advice is like I can't remember the last time I actually thought maybe I'll like that, and there was no version of said thing that I did not like. And it's just keeping an open mind, knowing people suck. There will always be someone to tell you that you're wrong about your opinion. You're wrong about the take. You're garbage for liking that. Your cat's too adorable. There's just people who will always say those things.
Yeah.
So Kit Kat. And I don't know. And I think it's unfortunate that so many people suck in the comics community, but from experience, there's also some of like the best people. Like, look at who I found doing this random shit. Like, come on. And I love it. I love the community. It's just a matter of avoiding terrible ones like Comicsgate.
yeah.
Fuck them. They can go just fuck off, and finding the awesome ones that involve like people like Aaron and Jamie and like Bree when she's like commenting on comic things.
Here, when I'm here.
Yeah. But no,
He's
and you'll
great
just
for the gaming community too. Like let's be real.
exactly. That's when if you're trying to get into Twitch gaming, you go hit up Bree and be like, "Look at all these
I
awesome
dabble.
people."
I dabble.
And it's
She does
just
it for you.
it's just finding your people and finding the right books, and it's just like anything else in life. It won't just like click right away, but if you give it some time and you care, oh my god, it's there for you, and it can be like the best thing.
You don't have to read every book everyone tells you, and you don't have to like every book everyone tells you.
Nope.
Just like you don't have to like every comics fan you run into. You don't have to. There's no test. There's no quiz. There's no. I have to impress these people. Like as much as gatekeepers want to be gatekeepers, there are none. There's no council of comic geeks that you have to impress. Did you read Amazing Spider-Man number 85? Fuck off. No, there is. You don't have to do that.
Did you though?
I don't know the first appearance of Hulk. Fuck off.
No.
I don't have an opinion.
No opinion on Spider-Man. It's just like, and reiterating what Aaron and Todd have already said, like, find if you like stuff, if you like a certain medium, if you like sci-fi, go find sci-fi comics. You don't have to go to the capes if you don't like superhero movies, don't pick up superhero comics. If you like sci-fi,
That's a miss.
go pick up sci-fi comics. And don't be afraid to do that. Don't feel like you have to read Batman. You don't have to.
You don't have to.
You don't have to.
You don't have to read X-Men. You don't have to read Captain America or Superman.
Yeah.
Find things you like and read it. And if you pick up a character and you pick up a run that people don't like, you don't have to listen to them. Like if you pick up a New 52 run and people are like, New 52 is terrible, you don't have to listen to them. If you like New 52,
It's all subjective.
I love me some New 52. I don't care how much it gets trashed on. I'm always like, some of the best books are in New 52.
Wonder Woman. Kill me, Wonder Woman Reddit.
Yeah, I
I
love
like
it.
New 52 Wonder Woman.
It's
I want to
great.
know what you
Okay.
love about stuff. I hate some of the outfits in New 52 more than I hate a lot of things. But maybe the story's good. And I don't know because I didn't give it a chance because I'm so angry at Supergirl's outfit. So
Oh, I thought you were gonna go Starfire because there are
I can
some.
Oh, the
I
Starfire.
don't
Ooh,
have time.
Starfire is even worse.
yeah.
Shoulder pads and nipple covers. That's it.
Yeah,
Nothing
that's
else.
it. That's the
That's all
whole
you get.
outfit.
That's all you need to fight crime.
That's all you
Yep.
get. Everything else covered by
But
flaming hair.
she's an alien, and that's just how she dresses.
Oh,
Bree.
except
That's
for the
not
whole rest of
how
life
that works.
or the rest of the people.
Oh, no.
Anyway, that's a whole huge ass tangent.
Oh, we're going. Yeah, here we go. Let's do it.
See, is it good? I don't know because the style the crotch shield on Batgirl. Never mind. We'll go.
The crotch shield.
the other
There's
thing-
another sponsor. I'm writing it down.
We got to get crotch shield sponsors.
Yep.
What was it? Nipples
Gotta
for
hide our
us?
femininity.
Was that our last one?
Nips for all.
Nips for all. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Sorry, Jamie.
Yeah.
The other piece of advice: just jump in. Just go with it.
Yeah.
And you don't have
Yeah.
to go to a comic shop to find comics.
There's also that.
You don't have to do that.
You kind of on the jump in thing, let the idea of canon go. Like,
Yeah.
most everything is reset at some point, or like Alfred Pennyworth has gone from being a bumbling oaf of a pretend to be a detective to the suave former ex special agent military guy. Like, it's fine. Nothing is the same. Everything changes.
Yeah.
You can let it go.
You were in control of canon.
Let it go.
You were in
Absolutely.
control of canon.
Head canon. New
Yeah.
best canon.
Batman Family Adventures is my canon for the Bat Fam, and I don't think it ties at all to the direct storyline, and I don't give a fuck.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
I
So
love it.
my advice
Mhm.
is a little bit different than I thought it was going to be at the beginning.
All
Like, I
right.
had a plan, but you guys have convinced me of some things. So I've got some
Ooh.
caveats now to my
Okay.
opinion. If you can find a guide, if you can, okay. Well, so the issue is, if a person already knows to look for indies, or if they already know to search online to find specific types of comics, they're not going to have a problem. They're going to get where they need to get, and they're
True.
going to have a great time. We're talking about the people that don't know, the ones that come into the comic shop like flighty deer, like worried, not sure, like, do I come in or am I about to get hunted? We're talking, I think, and at least in my opinion, I'm talking about that person that doesn't know what they're looking for, doesn't know what they want, but they know that they liked this one comic their friend had, and maybe they want to do more, but they don't have anybody. That friend's a dick or whatever. So how do we help them? How do we make sure that they get somebody or get something that they have access to? If they find a guide, if they find someone in that store happens to be a valuable resource, awesome. If they find a new friend that can tell them and learn about them and tell them what to do, great. If they can find our supposed new sub-series that we're going to put out, if you like this thing, then we recommend this thing. Great. And actually, I'm very excited about that, like so excited about that. But if they don't, and all of that was the caveat, my opinion for new people is not to get into comics. Like
Wait, is this a hot take?
this is my hot
It's a
take.
hot
Let's say
take.
it's a hot take. Wait, we
It's
got a hot take.
Because most,
Hot take.
I forgot we had that. Oh my God, I love it.
I've been so excited. I was like, she's got a hot take.
I got a
Let's
hot
go.
take, and I know people are going to be unhappy with this, and I understand that it's fine. But I, as that person, not as like a fawn new in the woods, but as a person that like grew super attached to the comics that got me back into it, to have it just fucking canceled, to have Black Widow just canceled, to have Wonder Girl canceled. If you look like me, and you're looking for people that look like you in comics, and you're looking at the big ones because you're new and you don't know about indies, you're going to have a bad time. You can go Wonder Woman, probably you're okay, maybe. But they've canceled that before. So you're kind of just, let's just hold that gun up to your head and spin that cartridge and see what happens. And that's how I feel about it.
You know, as someone who's a guide, when people come in, because I've had people come into the store and they're like, "Yeah, well, I read it before. I'm just here for my boyfriend or whatever." I'm like, "Here is a collection of a complete story or a graphic novel."
And you're
Like,
perfect, and Todd's perfect, and Jamie's perfect, and I
and
dabble,
you're
and I'm
perfect,
fine.
Yeah.
and your
I know
hot take
enough,
is okay.
and my
Yeah,
hot take
no.
is a hot take. It's
Yeah.
I
It's
would
totally
say
fine.
that no one that's a newbie is here listening to me, so it's not like I can be like, stop getting into comics and have anybody listen. But that I if my friend, well,
Poser,
if they were
Poser just
asking
left the
me,
comic world.
oh,
It's all your fault.
it's a bad time to come in because, and I don't know if it'll get better because
Yeah.
now we have the representation, but it gets shot from us. It gets taken.
Yeah.
So is
Yeah.
that worse than not having had it? You get, I don't know. I don't know. That's how bitter I am
I
about this
love it.
stuff.
Fair.
Is that fills
Absolutely
me
fair.
with rage. I'm like, oh, but we get 57 Batmans.
Yeah.
Batman
It's because
pays the bills.
it's because
Yeah.
it's money.
Exactly.
It's money.
It's not art if it's only driven by money.
And that's
Yeah.
why indies are awesome, but it
And I
doesn't have to
love
be
the
the only
indies,
thing.
but they have to be able to find them. So indies need to be made more accessible. So
Yes.
I guess how do we do that? How do we make that easier? How do we get more corner things of indies? How do we get less Marvel or X-Men, which I love. I still love some of that.
We need all of the independent books to make or publishers to make a DCUI MU type thing, collaborate and get in on it together, because a subscription to get all back catalogs 6 months prior of indies would be
Yeah.
fucking huge.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Comixology used to be okay for indies, but their new interface, it's so difficult to find things. But to go to Erin's point that she brought up, I love that was something I meant to say for advice, but I forgot. Trades. You want to get into comics, you don't even have to go to a comic shop.
Yep.
Barnes and Noble, Second and Charles, Books a Million, whatever used bookstore you go to, just go to the graphic novel section, look around, find a graphic novel you like, and just go. And just go. You don't have to buy singles. I didn't buy single issue comics until like 4 or 5 years into reading comics. Because I was just buying trades.
Yep. It's perfectly fine. I've done the opposite. I've stopped buying singles and started going to trades, and it is a much nicer way to live. It's
Yeah.
a wonderful way to read.
I also started using Previews World. And not so much the Marvel and DC solicits, because I do like to read the indie books. So for people who are new, who are maybe watching, Previews World and the DC or Marvel solicits are the books that they have coming, like our lists or ads of their books that are coming out in the next 2 months to like year. These are mostly made with the idea that comic shops know what books are coming out and maybe what they need to skew their orders for, so they have certain stuff on the shelf. It's also a great way to advertise when things are getting reprinted. But when I started using Previews World, they have like massive, beautiful page spreads of the big publishers. And Boom is included in that. IDW, Dynamite, not Xenoscape. DC and Marvel were when they were doing their solicits in there, but Image, Dark Horse are as well. So that was great for me to learn about what books were coming up, get a little spiel, get a little synopsis, and kind of go in a little educated on it. In the back, before they get to games and what's the word I'm looking for? Collectibles. That's a they have a nice section for all of the smaller indie publishers. And that's usually where I go. Those are mostly graphic novels. Those are going to be like your Drawn and Quarterly, your Fantagraphic, Magnetic, Volts. Some of those smaller ones that are really churning out the creative, exploratory works in comics, because they aren't DC, Marvel, who have a certain trend and agenda, right?
The formula.
Yeah. So Previews World is not a very like easy to use website, nor is it a
Nope.
very easy to use book.
Nope. Nope. But if you look at it and you have an
Yeah.
LCS,
Mhm.
you can just be like, I don't know what to do here, but here's like circle it, write it down, go to your LCS and be like, I like this.
Yep.
Please help me get this.
Yeah.
They can fucking help you. And then they
Yeah.
can be like, oh,
How-
you're interested in that? You might get the right person who's like, oh, interesting. You know what's a lot like this, which I like too? Let me show you this.
All
And all of a
depends on a
sudden,
guide.
boop, 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 you
Yeah,
get
all
your
of
guide
this
because
need a guide.
some people just need, not all guides are ready to go from blank. So if you give them some ideas, they'll be like, oh, I know what you like. And then shoom, all of a sudden
Was
you
that the
have
computing
12
noise?
trades
That
in
was
your
what are you, a
arms.
mentat?
Yes.
So Todd, your point brings me to really something interesting, because as we've been talking, I think several times I mentioned, like, are newbies watching this stream? Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. So, but the people who are watching this stream are people who are going to be the guides. Like, a lot of people watching the stream are going to be guides.
That's so
So,
smart.
let me flip this question around a little bit and go, okay, what advice
Amazing.
do we give the guides?
Amazing. Be patient.
Mhm.
Make
What
yourself
advice are we going
available.
to give the guides
That's just
Yeah.
advice
for when they're
for
asked?
all the time.
Hey, first name I see on the list, officially unofficial geek. Where do I start? I want to get into comics. What do I do? What do we tell them?
Yeah.
Holy crap, that's a great question.
That's
That's
really
its own
great.
whole conversation, I think.
Yeah.
I
So,
love this.
Let my
what is the
drink out.
question?
What advice are we
what
going to
advice
give to
do we give-
guides?
What advice do
How
we
do we
give?
help them?
Don't look at it through your lens. If you have been in this for as long as like we have, you know the books and you know other people, their tastes and what they like.
Mhm.
Try to use the lens, because I have done this where I don't like the things they're telling me they like, but I have a friend who likes that stuff. Don't go, oh, I don't like this stuff, and try to push your idea of what is good in comics, your best of list. Don't push that, because it's your best of list. Do your best to pull from those different things that you know from being with other people, which is like the worst thing, but sometimes we have to do it. And be like, oh, I know Nick really likes this, and he's also really talked about this and this. I'm gonna do that and grab things. Try to look at it from their perspective instead of yours, because they aren't you. And I would never recommend some of my favorite books to people.
They're going to have to go do the reading themselves, not you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But how do you get to know someone in that 2.5 minute exchange?
I mean, you telling me your favorite things, like even not the comics part, but like the movies and songs and all of that, I feel like can tell you a lot. Like your favorite games, I think could tell me like you're gonna really like the Assassin's Creed book.
I did like the game, but a lot of my genres of stuff, like it's
Yeah.
messy. So obviously there's a lot of things that could happen in that. So it's not everything's going to be perfect, but I feel like having end caps that are noob specific for LCS would be a perfect and great starting spot. And having a whole little, like, yes, if you like horror, blip. If you like this, blip. If you want some popcorns, blip. Getting to know the person would be awesome. But if you only have a couple minutes, how do you do that? How do you get them to open up enough to you? You have to be personable as a comic book store employee. You have to be the person that's interested in doing that. Yeah, you have to be Aaron.
Yeah.
You have to be motivated to do this.
Be Aaron.
I have
Be
small
Aaron.
shoes. They're
Be
easy
Aaron.
to fill.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go.
They're going to be
That could be a
uncomfortable.
sticker. Be Aaron.
They're going to be uncomfortable. But
Gonna have to
All
be
right,
difficult.
it's gonna not be great, but I think I can do it. All right,
I think I
so
believe in
what
you.
do you think is the best?
There. Okay, so
Just
That's
close.
Aaron,
all
right?
right. yeah.
Movies, songs, games.
I actually have an advice that's a little bit opposite of Todd
And
and
advice.
builds off of Bree's.
Sweet.
Be okay with failing as a guide. I do believe some of my friends, I've tried to really kind of get into comics for a while, and they haven't liked all of my recommendations, or like I couldn't get them hooked, and slowly I started to understand the like niche kind of stuff that they needed, and it just built over time. Yeah.
Mhm.
But when I'm in the store and I'm serving as a guide, I usually trying to sell people the things I love. When people come into the store, or when I'm interacting with them for the first time, as I have a lot of people ask the Girls Talk Comic Twitter, and like, what stuff do you recommend of this genre? And it's like, well, I love these 3 titles.
Yeah.
And if they respond with, I tried them, I didn't like them, I then just kind of go down like, well, what's my number 4? What's my number 5? Until
Yeah.
they can kind of find something to engage with, or give me any kind of feedback, or they've tried something and they're like, I fucking loved Sentient or I fucking loved Gideon Falls. I'm like, great, you love horror, you love weird art, let's fucking roll. I'm just like, let's go. And then you just start asking those questions of like, well, what did you like about Scott Snyder's works? What do you like about G. Willow Wilson? What do you like about Gail Simone's works? And it's just like, sometimes I even just do it by author. If someone's like, I got introduced through why my brain just stopped. Like if somebody's just like, I love Brian Azzarello, I'm like, let's find another Brian Azzarello book for you to try, of like an entirely different genre, so you could just kind of feel it out. Like people come in all the time for manga recs. They're like, I love Demon Slayer, and I'm like, great, you're gonna love Jujutsu Kaisen. They're like,
This is true.
Yeah, and I'm like, like, I love Dragon Ball Z, and I'm like, cool, here's Dragon Ball. Like,
Here's baby Dragon Ball.
Killing it.
Here's Berserk. Like, right, it's just like,
No X-Men. There are some X-Men that are okay for an entry point, that has its own complete thing. I don't remember what it is right now though, but I own it.
I could tell you, it's
That would
not
be-
X-Men, the worst X-Men. That one's very much an in-joke about the genre. I have no
There
idea
is-
how to understand
Just
it.
buy all of the Krakoa era. All 8 different books they had working together.
That sounds like a nightmare, because I
Oh,
tried
yeah, that
reading
was a
some
nightmare,
of
yeah.
them. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
As
no,
long as it's
that
still
was
a nightmare.
sarcasm.
That was sarcasm, everybody.
So
Sarcasm.
sorry, where I was going. Fail.
Sorry,
Be okay to
sorry.
fail. No, when you're giving advice, because it's a learning process for you as well. Even though you don't get your best of list, those might be the safest recommendations for someone who's never picked up a book. Like, and I do recommend going with your more indie or insular titles, things that are self-contained. That's a place to start when you're giving advice. And
Right there. Frank also, beginning, middle, and end.
yeah. Very, like, one that is complete, a circle. And if
It
anything,
doesn't take 10 volumes to do. Sorry.
it doesn't take 10 volumes to do so. And if anything,
Concise.
get people into comics the way you got into comics. Like, if you really got into them because you followed an artist, have people do that same thing. If you got into it because you just deep dove into a genre, or you just picked up like all of the Horizon Zero Dawn comics, just do that for them too. Be like, what's up? You connected with Assassin's Creed? Let's fucking just read every Assassin's Creed book. Let's go. You like Bloodborne? There's a shit ton of Bloodborne. Dark
much
Souls,
Bloodborne.
there's Dark Souls books.
Bloodborne.
It doesn't explain the lore.
Let's get some
There are
stuff.
books. So just stuff like that. Get people connected with whatever trend that you dove into, and then send them loose.
Yeah. So I feel like, listening to all this, the thing that kept coming into my head thinking about this was, as a guide, be ready for a conversation. And like, even if it's not going to be one, even if you tell them this thing and sort of Debri's point where they just sort of like, okay, fine, and like that's the one time you get with them, be prepared for it to be a conversation, in that you give them recs, they come back and say, I don't like it, then go, oh, okay, well, I learned this about you, and so here's some other recs that might suit you better. Or they come back and say, oh, I didn't like this. Okay, well, what didn't you like? Maybe what didn't work for you? And then go, meat air. Okay.
Hoser, why am I getting meated?
Poser.
just,
I'm going to. That's a clip. If anybody could grab that clip on Twitch,
I could do it.
that would be great. Thank you.
I don't want to be needed.
needed. Yeah, just
Only
just-
dreams now.
be-
Okay.
Jamie.
yeah, just like be ready to, as a guide, have a guiding relationship with this person, even if it doesn't end up being a thing where they just go away for forever. But be willing to do that. Be willing to work with them, and the benefit of that too is you get them into a community. Like make them feel like it's part of a community rather than just coming to the all-knowing guide and then running away in terror. You know, if you can make them feel through your being of a guide that they're part of your comics community, I feel like that's a better selling point than just go find this thing and read it, you know?
Yeah.
So
Totally.
And people
that's
might give
great.
you just like,
Mhm.
I think one prompt I got from a customer was, I'm into the really weird shit. And I'm like, I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I'm gonna need
Here's
details,
Red
but
Room.
Do I
Yeah.
want
Well, yeah.
details?
There's Red Room. There's
Is it
Unnatural.
that kind of
there's
weird shit?
Classic
Yeah.
We
terror
going
and
sexy
like
or
really
bloody?
weird science
Yeah.
stories. Like, are
Or
we
no
talking
gravity?
Paranoia 21? Are we talking like what? Like dupe or goop or whatever? Like, what the fuck are we talking about?
I think the only real advice, obviously the thing with advice is you pick what feels right to you and then you follow it. The only advice that I'll tell you, if you think it's wrong, you're wrong. It's okay to fail. Newbies, guides, it doesn't matter. It's okay to fail, and it is part of doing anything. The rest of it is literally, Aaron and I said two opposite things.
Yeah.
One of those will probably work for you. And
Or
it's
for the
probably going to
person you're
depend on
talking
who
to.
you're talking to.
Hey.
Amazing. So it's okay to fail because you go, okay, you know what? Todd's way sounds right. Oh, I was terrible at that.
Yeah.
You know what? If you didn't like those, try these are my favorites. And then they love them. Cool. Aaron was right. And then you realize Aaron is the one to listen to, not Todd, if you're going to pick between the two, which is just good life advice. That's the advice I give. But it's just don't be afraid of failure. It's just going to happen. You're going to fail at picking a good book for yourself, and you're going to fail at giving the right recommendation. Those are both going to happen, and that's okay. I've read so much crap I don't like.
But when you give the bad recommendation, then you make it a fight. Where like the person you're talking to, you're like, your recommendation shit. You're like, oh yeah, what would you read? What's better than you? And then it's their responsibility, balls in their court, and you watch your hands.
You just go for it.
At the end of the day, remember, it's just comics.
It's
It's just the funny pages.
It's fun comics. We're supposed to have fun with this.
Yep.
It's true. It's true.
So did we want to look at some of the tweets that we got?
Some tweeters?
Yeah.
Yeah, tweeter time.
Ether.
I heard you kind of have to pee again. I can't drink on stream. I drink too much water during the day.
Complained
sorry.
braggingly.
Stream prop.
I brag so hard. I'm so hydrated, y'all.
I'm so hydrated.
So, Jamie, where do we want to start with the tweeters, or do you not really care about the order?
Random. Just give me a random.
Random? Hey, Aaron, give me a number 1 through 4, please.
2.
Perfect.
I did the thing.
Yeah.
Is Jamie going to read it? Oh, okay.
I'll do it,
Cool.
I guess. So Brent Richardson wrote, while some stereotypical gatekeepers still exist, you shouldn't build up their prevalence or power over you in your head. Don't live in fear of potential judgment from mean, sucky fans. Their opinion of what you're reading, not reading, doesn't matter. Read what you like.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's a wonderful sentiment.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's great.
And so numbers 1 through 4, but not 2.
No, it's what? So 1, 2, or 3. Bree.
3.
And then I'm going to say you have to read it now. We should have done
That's
that.
fine. I'm
because
allowed to read. I can
We have
read.
4 of them.
I'm good at reading.
I'm good at reading.
From 10 Cent Takes. Remember, comics don't have to be about superheroes. Start with the genres you already like and other media. If you have an LCS, the person there should be able to recommend stuff. At Brian's Comics is fantastic about this. Routinely turns us on to new horror books. Great. That's exactly what we were talking about.
There we
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
I like. Thank you, 10-cent takes, and thank you, Brenton. Jamie,
I feel like a lot of this
because
is what we've been
I know
covering.
all the
Come on.
numbers. It's not random
like
for me. And then Aaron, you have to read this one because Jamie read your number.
Oh, sheesh.
Oh, yeah. The book you should read is whatever interests you most, no matter what it is. The essential type lists are great if you're looking for a recommendation, but there's no obligation to start with the classics before you get to what you really want to read. Do not feel judged. Was that good?
That's amazing.
It's
That was great.
Do not feel judged is
Do not
wonderful.
feel-
Don't feel judged. Or else.
Stop it. Stop
Yeah.
feeling judged. I'm judging you for feeling judged.
Yep.
Oh, fuck.
So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. I love that, and it's the whole thing. You don't have to pick a genre that you think is the right genre. Just pick what you want to read.
What do you like? Like I play video games. I play a lot of spooky games. I don't like horror comics. So that would have been a miss if someone had asked me that.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
just
There
talking,
you go.
we could find more.
You know, I'm similar. I don't like horror movies, but I like horror comics.
Same. I can't do horror in anything else but comics.
Interesting. I just like horror. Hey, it's almost like there's a spectrum of what
Whoa.
people like and don't like. And it could-
Where's the brain explosion?
Yeah,
Like
I only have a hot take.
graphic. Ugh.
I'll come up with
It's
a
a
brain
big brain take.
explosion one.
Yeah,
I'll get a brain take.
brain take.
Brain take. And I'm gonna go with one because I'm between one.
The
and
only
two.
one left.
Max Heyman at Bembel Forever. Mickey Mouse comics as a kid got them from my grandma. The diversity to find the right entry point. If you ask for recommendations, mention stuff you like, especially stuff that isn't comic related. If you ask for recommendations, mention stuff you like, especially stuff that isn't comic related. Super helpful for newbies because they won't have a comic related thing to even ask. And then just pick the most recent number one. I think that's super interesting because that will work for somebody. If you're like me, when I get into a hobby, I'm in it. Like, let's go. I decided I like you. When I got into bread making, holy shit, there was bread
You got
everywhere.
into it.
When I
had
got
to
into
focus
sticker
on-
making, it's now a business.
Yeah.
Like shit's like hard. But that is really good advice for someone I think like me. If you are casually going at it, don't just pick a random number one and get into it because that number one could be legacy number 890 and they've done some stupid shit and who the fuck knows where they really are.
It could
Like
be-
number ones are dangerous now. You don't
could
know
be-
what you're getting.
It could be one of 5.
Yes.
Number
Yes.
one of Trial of Magneto. What is he on trial for? What the fuck is happening?
Where am
Is
Yeah.
Apocalypse? Why is he alive?
What year
Why
is
is
it?
everybody friends with Apocalypse? Why
you
is
don't- What
the
Gambit
fuck?
and
We're friends
Rogue
with Apocalypse?
asleep?
I can't.
If you don't know Hickman's name, you shouldn't be reading Hickman to begin with.
Done.
Yeah.
Hickman is not a beginner author.
Do not
No.
be reading Hickman to begin with. Can we
So-
rewrite the fucking Christmas Carol? But like, it
Yes.
could not be Hickman to begin with.
Yes.
So in that case, random side question, most noob friendly author.
Ooh.
That one I think would take research
Gail
from my
Simone.
point of view.
What did you say? Who did you say?
Gail Simone,
Oh, yeah. Nice.
Sure. Oh,
Solid.
yeah.
Cy Spurrier.
Cy Spurrier. Yeah. James Tynan, I think, because it's self-contained worlds, most of the time you're going to grab it outside of like Batman. You can get collected editions and not need to know anything else. And especially if you really like Bree's inclusive thing, you'd like that. So,
Brian K. Vaughan is a great choice.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
Gibson Junkie.
Why the Last Man can be tough for the same reason I said the inclusive part for Brian K. Vaughan's Why the Last Man can be a little jarring for people who are used to modern media.
Yes. Yeah.
There's some things you have to go in prepping yourself for. Like the language is definitely going to be
And some people will be fine with
harder.
all of that. If someone will
Yep.
take that list that we saw on that tweet and be fucking golden. And
Yep.
that's great. And they're not
Yeah.
going to have a problem. But we're talking about people that need help, that need to find a thing or else they're gone.
Yeah.
Those are the people that I'm like, if you don't have a guide, don't do it.
Neil Gaiman.
Yeah, I was going to mention Neil Gaiman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's wrote any art authors that also wrote children books. I feel like have a pretty good
Mhm.
lead up into stuff, even if that children book is a horror show that will haunt you. It's still a children's book written to children's standards.
G. Willow Wilson,
She was
maybe.
great.
Tilly Walden, but she writes graphic novels, not really comics. I'm sorry.
I count them.
I'm a really good guide.
We know this, and we love you for it.
Yeah, you're great.
You're great. You're perfect.
So did we want to go sort of lead into the last question we have, which is, what are our recommendations? What are two that we would pick to give to newbies?
Sure.
And
Let's do it.
Todd, you want to start us off on this one?
Oh my.
Oh.
I can. I'm gonna. It's funny. I will start off. That sounds good. Oh, hey, Jamie. Hi. They all have pretty graphics, but since I do the graphics, I didn't make any for myself. I'm not sure what happened there, but I have a stack of the books that I'm going to recommend. As mentioned before, so these are recommendations for newbies. If you are a newbie and we are going to give genres, characters, things like that. These are things that also maybe can help you as a guide. If you are kind of insular and you're like, I don't know about a guide, here can be some recommendations you can give for things that we like. I'm a fan of all things horror. I love horror movies. I love horror games. I love horror
Soundtracks?
board games.
Oh, I do love horror board games.
Horror board games are so much fun. I love horror themed tabletop adventures, and I adore horror comic books, which is one of the, if you are a Comic Burrito regular, you'll know that that is one of the only genres that the Burrito Boys all actually agree on and all very much enjoy. We're so varied in our other tastes, but when it comes to horror comics, we fucking are all on the same page. So I'm going to start with, I have more than two, so sorry. Witches, Scott Snyder. It is a pretty intense read, but this is the entire book. There's technically a second one, and you can read that if you really like this. But if you want to check this out, it's a Scott Snyder book with Jock as the artist. It's really interesting art.
Oh.
It's very gritty, very visceral, and I very much like it. Cole fucking hates it. I really love it. It is Nick's one of Nick's favorite books, and I'm somewhere in between. I think it's a really interesting place to see if this is, and it's one of those test the waters things. Is this art too like weird and gritty and stuff? Then you know, okay, you can point them a different way. Cleaner art, more condensed, like more concise story, or you could know exactly what they want. So Witches, fantastic. Fucking opposite side. Super clean, super interesting. Stray Dogs, one of my favorite books over the last few years. I adore this book. Talking dogs, figuring out a serial killer mystery. Holy shit. But it's spoopy. It's not horror, but it's spoopy. And the art is incredibly clean and crisp. You're basically looking at Disney level like artwork in a very dark horror themed mature book. Adore it. Love it. If you get the singles, you get these horror movie montage ones or homage ones. Amazing. Hotel from AWA. John Lees, one of my favorite authors now. If you recommend this book, you can recommend the singles because it doesn't matter which one they grab. They all connect, but they all are their own story on their own. You can pick up 2, 4, 3, and then 1 and read them in that order and be just as good as if you picked up the trade. Amazing for newbies. You can just randomly decide to jump into it, and it's great. It won a Golden Burrito for best miniseries the year it came out. For those who are much more casual, I like spooky things, but I also want some just good, awesome times, and I really want a dope ass female lead. Holy shit! Something is Killing the Children. James Tynan the Fourth, incredible. Boom Studios, easy recommendation. If they like anything spooky, horror related, monsters, anything dark, anything depressing, Something is Killing the Children is one of the easiest choices, and also look how sexy! Oh my god!
If they're gonna buy the nice collector's edition, yeah.
Yeah, or you can get the trades. They're at like volume like 12 on the trades now because that's how popular it is. Because it's for like everybody. And then you're like, Todd, that's a bunch of indie bullshit. I like my Marvel movies. I like my DC stuff. I want something spooky, but I want it from a big two. Batman Damned,
Whoa.
Black Label. Holy shit. It's fantastic. Black Label is a great resource. You can be like this. Look how fucking sexy these covers are.
I remember you liking that.
Oh my god.
Oh, the sound nice.
Look at that. It's so great.
So
And then
pretty.
you can just open up a page and be like, whoa. It's a very unique art style. It's Batman related, so you can pull in people who are really big into superheroes, and you got a big 2 rec right there. So, hey, those are my recommendations.
Love them. Yay!
and that's the
Crispy.
horror genre.
It is crispy.
Yeah, no one has to recommend another horror book
Ever again. I'm just gonna-
ever again.
Ever again. That's it.
I'm happy for you to have those. You can have all of mine.
Who's next? Jamie?
Aaron?
Okay.
Aaron.
All right. So I snuck a third in today.
Jesus. Rule follower.
Yeah.
Ugh, that's really unprofessional.
Oh yeah.
How dare
Yeah,
you.
Todd. Such a
Yeah,
problem.
Going over the
With my
amount. Jeez.
$3. So I am picking from a couple different genres. Let's start with my sci-fi recommendation, Sentient by Jeff Lemire. Sentient it's got a little bit of like Wall-E meets Alien meets Lost in Space vibes, in my opinion, because like it's about children of like a colony spaceship who all the adults kind of die in a mysterious way, and they have to survive on their own, with the AI serving as a surrogate parent. It's published through TKO. And TKO is a very small indie publisher. Jeff Lemire is one of my favorite authors, and Gabrielle Walta is an amazing artist. So it's also pretty easy to follow. The colors are also great. The lettering is also really smooth. And when it comes to reading comics for the first time, that lettering is really what's going to drive the experience, because you got to track where the bubbles are going. And I think Sentient really grasped all of that well. I also like the idea of children having to survive and going through a lot of like kind of adult psychological thriller bullshit, with a computer that's struggling with the concept of humanity. Like, how human is human kind of thing. Love that story. It's very Danger Will Robinson. Fucking love it. 10 out of 10. Do recommend. Now, if you want to get into Kate's comics, my next recommendation might be because of the show that's also coming up, but I also thought it was a really great point of picking up on this character. It's the Miss Marvel with Kamala Khan. Kamala is a huge nerd for superheroes. So she makes references, she knows about them, and she knows about them with such a confidence that you as a reader don't necessarily have to like learn all the things, right? Like she knows for you about Hulk, Spider-Man, or anything like that. So you're like, go off, Kamala, love it. But they also change her powers so much that it's not just like Carol Danvers, Miss Marvel that they're researching. It's an entirely new hero experience, and I really also just enjoy what she brings to the world in regards to Muslim representation and those kind of familial struggles and role struggles she has between being a young woman of color in New York, 9/11 world, and getting a superpower suddenly that totally fucks up her own full concept of her own identity. So I love the story for that. I love the fact that it's such an easy way to get into the Marvel universe and Kate's universe because she is such a unique new experience. And I also love the fact that she's an expert in her own right, so you don't have to be. So that's why I'm recommending Miss Marvel. Also, G. Willow Wilson is an amazing author, and she's the writer. So my third one is a classic that has been mentioned a few times today, both in chats and by us on the screen, but it's a fucking classic. It's super accessible, great fantasy story, great lettering, like just fucking great art. Bone by Jeff Smith.
Hey.
I love Bone.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah, such a great story. Beloved book because it's been around for decades. And this complete collection is just such a good way of getting in on it. And again, very fun high fantasy story. The art style is really distinct because like your main characters are very simple, cartoony, like old style Disney kind of cartoony. And then you've got more what's the word? Not decorated, detailed characters and environments around it. And like each character has a really great voice and role. And it's just got kind of a Tom Sawyer's adventure, maybe like a little Lord of the Rings, like a
It's a
less
coming of
epic.
age kind of situation.
Yeah, that's the thing that I'm looking for. Thanks, Bree, for being here.
I read it on a comment earlier, so
hell yeah. There you go. Whoever made that comment earlier. Don't say we don't read your comments. So I really recommend Bone for newbies as well. Since it's also written for young adults or kids, the lettering, it's like really easy to learn how to read a comic. The story is going to be more heartfelt and touching, and I don't know, just pretty really fucking solid narrative. So yeah, those are my recommendations.
Yay.
All right, Bree.
Okay, so you guys did 3, so I'm going to add 1.
Oh man!
But you have the
for
graphic
that.
already because it's what I mentioned as my first comic earlier. So boom, got him.
Okay.
You don't have to put it up though, but that's just what I'll talk about. At the end.
Yeah, no, I got you.
So
No,
first
you're
off,
good.
I'm going to say, so I don't actually have any genres. I said, meh, I'm not going to stick with genres. I'm going to pick 2 that I really like. So the first one is She-Hulk, Law and Disorder. So it's like the human side of She-Hulk. So it's like her life as a lawyer. It starts with her getting kicked out of the normal firm that she would like the normal lawyer firm that she was in. Spoilers. And her going, you know what? Fuck you guys. I'm going to make my own law firm with blackjack and hookers. No, with superheroes.
Yeah.
I'm going to be a defender of superheroes. And so it's just a bunch of little standalone-ish stories of her defending whatever superhero gets in trouble because they've saved the wrong person, the right person, too many people, or why is that building destroyed now? And it's really fun. And it's just really fun. There's this whole thing with Spider-Man that gets really funny, but if you liked any of that, I don't want to spoil it because it's really funny. So it's funny, upbeat, it's bright. It introduces like, yeah, she's She-Hulk, but she's not going around punching all the shit. She punches some shit, but also she's like, I'm going to use my brain. And I like that because she is a lawyer. She's a lawyer. So she's doing lawyer things. And you don't really get to see a lot of that, of people doing their jobs in comic books like us. How do you connect with someone to see them doing a thing that you do? And then, so the second one, Gotham City Sirens, is Harley Quinn, Poison Ivy, and Catwoman. Then they're roommates now. So it's, if you like Batman-y kind of things, this is their 3 ladies from Batman. Oh my God, they were roommates and nothing else. They deal with normal roommates like crazy exes, who does the dishes, killer plant strains that eat the neighbors, things like that.
Every day.
Down to earth.
What a Tuesday.
The art's beautiful. I love all 3 characters and seeing how their very different personalities interact, because it's not like they threw them into a thing and it was fine and everything's let's make some cookies. No, I don't remember any cats being harmed in that. I think the cats stayed not in that house. I don't think cats were brought in. Because I understand the worry there. Bless. It's a good book. It's cute, and I love it.
Yeah.
It doesn't like. I guess now that I think about it, the three that I'm saying that I bring up here are how do we take these superheroes and make them just like us? And not looking at them trying to destroy or save the world. We're looking at them going through the trials and tribulations of new roommates or of a crazy ex-boyfriend that's Joker. Oh God. Or getting fired from your job and recovering. Or in the other book that I'm going to bring up, which is just the, oh gosh, what's it called? The Cost of Living by Neil Gaiman, which is just death, an all-powerful entity that has spanned time immemorium. Now she's a 20-year-old goth girl walking through the city, living and existing and just seeing what's going on. And that's just so, it's humanizing. She's been humanized. She cares about everybody that she interacts with, which when you think about it, if death cares, what does that mean every time she takes somebody? Like you can connect to that emotionally. I can be invested in her. I can be invested in this world because so much thought was put into it, which is how I feel about all three of these series. They make you feel things because it's about real people, not about supers. If I were to recommend another one, it would be the one where Superman talks a suicidal teen off of the side of a building.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
If you want to,
Superman.
Oh
yeah,
my God.
and
Yes.
that is
All
my
Stars.
favorite.
One of the only Superman books I love.
My favorite in all of his comics is they're just like me. I can relate to that. I can feel things for those people, and that's how you love something. So those are my recommendations.
Wonderful. I love it.
Beautiful.
Yeah, good Rex.
All right.
All right, Jamie.
Yeah, Jamie.
Last and probably least.
No.
So
Shout down.
I love fantasy that involves mythological sort of like pantheons of gods. And so if that's kind of the thing you're into, I recommend Wicked and Divine. I am breaking a rule that I mentioned earlier in that it's 9 volumes, so it's a little long. It's an investment if you get into it, but trust me, when you get into it, and it's really good. The art is also very clean, very colorful. It's very bright. You're not going to be like, "Oh God, this is what's going on," because they're using 10 different shades of gray. It's all very bright. It's all very colorful. A lot of fun. You know, if you want high school drama with gods, Wicked and Divine's the way to go. The other one is sci-fi because I was a sci-fi kid growing up. Like I was raised Star Trek, like that was the fandom I was raised in. Star Trek comics.
Oh, not as good.
But Descender, I think, would be the best sci-fi. I would recommend if someone said do a sci-fi. I would say Descender. Again, 6 volumes. I'm sorry. I'm breaking my own rules, but it's worth the 6 volumes. It's worth the 6 volumes. It's so good. So heartfelt about an android boy who wakes up and
Tim,
the universe is gone and shit, and he's just so
sweet boy,
sweet and good, and wants his family. He just wants his friend back.
Oh no!
But yeah, and the art is
God,
it's watercolor.
Dustin Wynn,
like it's so clean and it's
so good,
gorgeous. It's gorgeous art without being too complicated, because sometimes art in comics can be like, I want to be real pretty but difficult to understand what's going on. Not Descender.
Totally.
A few more that I was thinking about while we were talking, while the other ones were talking, and I'll try to be quick.
Yes,
if you have a father figure and you want to cry, God Country.
Yes.
Wonderful.
If you have a father figure in your life and you just want to bawl your eyes out,
wonderful,
about that experience,
I love it.
Yes.
That's all you need to say. Like you said, like, I wanted you to take time because it's like, no, don't be quick. That's all you. That is everything you need for that book. I love it.
If you like Vikings but want a female lead Viking, Heathen,
Dope.
about
I
a
like Vikings.
teenage lesbian Viking who
I like
decides,
that.
you know what, I'm going to go kill Odin. I'm going to go
I
take
like
down
that.
Odin.
Yeah, you
I
know.
like that
It's
a lot.
only 12 issues. The omnibus is coming out
Hell
in
yeah.
May for like $25. Totally worth it. And the art is really great.
You got
Black and white, not too complicated there.
Ooh, nice.
And if
Cool.
you like sexy woman, Freya, the goddess Freya has her tits out the entire time. You know,
Hey.
I can enjoy sexy women too.
and then the last one, I wanted, like, if you want a strong, badass feminist author, I thought Kelly Sue DeConnick. I was gonna recommend Bitch Planet, but it's not finished, so
Oh,
don't
That
do
could,
that.
be,
to
that could
yourself.
be cut at any point.
But
Bitch Planet. Oh,
Pretty
that's really
Deadly!
good. Pretty Deadly's real fucking
Pretty
good.
Deadly is amazing. If you like
Nice.
cowboys,
I do like cowboys.
do it.
Do it.
Holy
Done.
shit.
So that's all
Gorgeous.
mine.
Too.
I tried to make those extras really quick.
Those are
But yeah,
great.
sci-fi. You have a dad and want to cry.
Ooh, rhyming.
Viking lesbians.
Oh,
Oh,
I love it.
that's cool. But yeah.
Badass women.
Yes.
Nice.
That's all I got.
Oh, and
Succinct.
gods, but
And
high
Wicked
school.
Divine. God High School. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. I like
God
all your recommendations.
college. God
Yeah, those are
college.
wonderful.
God College. Okay,
I'm-
sorry.
Hair
College.
splitting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I, mean,
Amazing.
I teach college students. They're not much better.
Hey yo.
fun little side plug. Girls Talk Comics has done episodes on a few of those comics. I believe you can find one about Pretty Deadly and God Country, and I already forgot the others because my
Could
brain
we-
is short.
So I think Todd, when you do a post in one of the channels as For Everyone Media, it posts in all three. That's
Yeah,
what
no,
I'm seeing. So if you want to, why don't you post a link to Girls Talk
Yeah,
Comics?
wonderful.
And
No, I
then
actually
to
just learned how
Burrito?
to not do that, which is hilarious.
Oh, cool. And then do
Um,
and for my Twitch too. We could get everybody get a little pluggity plug.
There's
Yeah.
also a
Love
review of
it.
Heathen on here.
There's a lot of
Everyone
links for
review
me to
section
find all of a
the
sudden,
website.
but
Heathen, Jamie? Awesome. I'm excited.
How about
It's a great review.
we're going to update the description after this. If you do want to find any of those things, go to foreveryonemedia.com. Whereas we need to get
Like Homeward Bound, but also Genocide of Robots. I love
it's
it.
pretty amazing. So I'm not going to link the other two because you can go to foreveryonemedia.com and get to girls.comics. You can get to all
Hear
the
everyone reviews.
Oh yeah,
Hear Everyone Reviews, which we'll be seeing some of those comics that Jamie just talked about, and others will be on there or already are on there. But then there's Pep's Twitch.
That's
Bree's
me.
Twitch.
That's
Bree's
Bree,
Twitch.
Pep Brianna.
Pep Brianna.
Pep Brianna. Pepperana. I am a pepperoni piranha. It's fine. It's from Steven Universe, actually.
Just reading comic book posters. Comment.
Todd sucks.
Oof. Well, I'm glad.
Guess whose D&D character just died again?
Oh,
Enjoy,
no.
poser.
Bran.
Don't piss off your DM. That's advice I have for
Hot take.
Hot take.
Hot take. Don't
Your
piss off your DM.
D&D's your D&D character's dead. There's your hot take.
There you go.
There's my recommendation.
Thank you, Brian, for the follow.
So yeah,
Hey.
that's all we've got for tonight. Thank you, Bree, Aaron, Todd, for taking part. I
Thank
think
you,
this was an amazing
Jamie.
panel. I love
you,
all the
Jamie.
ideas. As we end, I just do want to point out. I do want to mention something. This year has been really tough for transgender and non-binary people, especially youth, with all of the anti-transgender legislation going on in states, banning them from sports. There's a few bathroom bills that have gone on, and most recently in Texas, where they're labeling parents of transgender youth as child abusers and taking their care away. And my home state of Alabama, which recently passed a ban of transgender youth health care, which is now considered a felony in that state. We're having a really hard time this year. And so I, as a member of the transgender community, ask you, do whatever you can to help us, whether it's donate to a charity, call your elected representatives, whether they be federal or state. If you have someone you know who's transgender or non-binary, even just reaching out to them and seeing what you can do for them, because we're all hurting, and it often feels like we're alone in this fight, and we are fighting against people who have million times more power than us. And we often feel alone, and we need allies, and we need your help. So please, thank you. Love you all. Have a great evening. Thank you for joining us. Check out our Twitter, For Everyone Media. Check out our website, foreverymedia.com. We've got Here Everyone Reviews, Girls Talk Comics, all that fun stuff. Comic Burrito on the Saturday nights. Check them out. They're pretty cool guys. Thank you. Have a good evening. And yes, support creators. Sorry.
Support. Yes. Support
Support
transgender
transgender
creators.
creators.
Support them. They're right there, and they make amazing things. Go do that.
That's a great way to start in comics. Transgender creators.
Yeah.
There you go.
Night, everybody.
Good night.
Night.
Good night.
Bye.
Wow.